So as you can see in front of you here, we've got FIFA Road to World Cup 98 on the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn, both PAL versions of the game. And this video is going to be a version comparison comparing both versions of the game. Now what's interesting is back in 1997, a friend of mine from school lent me FIFA 98 because he was saying how good it was, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to check that out, and he was nice enough to lend me the game. So I spent a good few weeks playing FIFA 98 at home, which was awesome on my PlayStation. Now, a really good friend of mine, who I'd been friends with for so many years, had a Sega Saturn, and he had picked up FIFA 98 on the Sega Saturn. And I remember going round to his house and playing it, and at the time thinking, this isn't quite the same. And I remember saying to my friend Chris at the time, this doesn't feel the same to me. This doesn't seem like it's the same. And he said to me, it's the same game, Dave. It's the same as what you've been playing on PlayStation. You're just thinking differently because it's on Saturn, different controller, etc, etc. But as I was playing it, I noticed some differences. And hopefully in this video, I'm going to be able to show you and talk about some of the differences that I noticed between these two versions. And unfortunately, it doesn't paint the Sega Saturn version in a particularly good light, I'm afraid. So, let's jump into the footage that I've captured of both versions, and let's take a look at FIFA Road to World Cup 98. So we've jumped here straight to the loading screen of the PlayStation version. You can see the CD with the effect of it going round as it's loading up to the menu. I've had to skip the intro on both versions because, of course, it contains copyrighted music. It's got Song 2 by Blur in there, and that's probably going to give me a copyright strike. So here we go. PlayStation version is going to load up to the menu. And here is the main menu. And the menus on both versions are pretty similar, so I'm going to try not to dwell too much on the menus themselves. I'm literally just going to go through, set up a match. I'm going to try and set up exactly the same match on both versions of the game so we can keep things as consistent as possible. My team, Manchester United against Arsenal, which at this time was a pretty big rivalry in the Premier League. So we'll choose, obviously, United will choose England as the stadium. You also get a little quick video intro of England, which is pretty cool. You can see the centre of London, little videos of the centre of London here. And the former Wembley Stadium as it was with the Twin Towers. So here we have the team sheets essentially on the next loading screen where it's actually going to load up the match. Now, the Sega Saturn version, as you're going to see, seems to load the game a lot faster than the PlayStation version. To me, this whole sort of loading takes longer on the PlayStation, and I can see from the length of the video clips as well that it does appear to take almost twice as long as it does on the Sega Saturn, which I find interesting. So once the PlayStation version has finished loading, we're actually going to jump to the Sega Saturn's introduction and menu. Again, I've had to cut off Song 2 by Blur, the introduction. And notice how that's just a progress bar that zips across the screen nice and quickly. Fades to black pretty quick, and look at that, we're already in the menus. That is pretty fast. And as I say, the menus, they look pretty similar, to be honest. There might be some minor differences to the way the text appears, but it looks very similar to the PlayStation version at this point in time. Again, we're going to set up exactly the same match. And select the side with the Saturn controller. And again, we'll select England, essentially Wembley Stadium, and just like on the PlayStation version, you get a little FMV sequence showing you some landmarks of London, essentially, which is pretty cool. And again, here is the team sheet screen showing you the two squads, the two first 11s. And again, that progress bar is zipping across the screen pretty quickly on the Sega Saturn version, it has to be said. And then we're going to have Sony PlayStation on the right and Sega Saturn on the left, as you can see here. And you will see there is a bit of a difference visually. To me, the Sega Saturn version appears to be a bit more sort of pixelated. It doesn't look quite as sharp and quite as nice as the PlayStation version, almost as if it's running at a lower resolution. It doesn't look the same. Even the player models don't look the same to me either. And this, even with my young sort of 13-year-old eyes back in 1997, I noticed this when I was playing my friend Chris's Sega Saturn after playing FIFA 98 on the PlayStation extensively. I noticed the difference. It didn't look quite the same. To me, the PlayStation version looked better. And that's not me just saying that because I love the PlayStation. I'm saying that because that is exactly how it was to me then, and even playing it to record this footage, I noticed the graphical differences between the Saturn and PlayStation versions. They also don't seem to play exactly the same, but again, that could just be placebo effect. They don't appear to feel the same when I'm playing the games. But you can see as the footage is running, to me, the Saturn version, I mean, look at the goal net there behind Peter Schmeichel. Look at how basic that goal net looks. When we actually see the goal net on the PlayStation version, it looks a bit more sort of full. It looks like there's more, if you like, lines, polygons, whatever, that's making up the goal. As you'll see here, look at the difference in the goal. It looks so much better, so much more real, if that's the right way to put it, for a PlayStation game, in comparison to the Saturn version. So these were things I noticed back in the day, and I'm hoping they're coming across on this video. Unfortunately, I'm getting Karol Poborski of Manchester United sent off for a filthy challenge, which you could do on this game. But yeah, the PlayStation version to me seems to be running at a bit of a higher resolution. Some of the assets look better on PlayStation as well.
Excellent ball. Great stuff from the keeper. Ah, that's a good save. You know, those are never easy for the keeper.
And this just highlights the fact that some of the ports, some of the developers seem to struggle bringing ports over to the Sega Saturn from other hardware. Guys, I hope you found this interesting, and I will keep trying to do more of these version comparisons as and when I find games on both systems or on two competing systems. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.
Things opening up here, the score 2-0.